There we go. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. It's Tracy, your health coach and personal trainer here. And I'm here with my special guest, Karen Rae. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Tracy. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk to you. I've not seen you in so long.
Yeah,
And
wow.
you're zooming in from Arizona.
Yes, and that's why I think I'm so golden here.
Yes. Hot Arizona.
Hot Arizona. Yeah, it's just
Yes.
about 105 right now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do that.
Yeah.
Oh, but let me give a moment. I'm going to introduce you to everybody. I want to go ahead and read your bio. But I wanted Karen on the show because she just has so much, knowledge in life, things that have happened to her that she has, really come through and thrived through. And Karen experienced over 5 major life changes at the same time: divorce, empty nest, menopause, downsizing, re-entering the workforce, and living on her own for the first time in her life.
Mhm.
She was faced with a feeling being invisible and, and having to redefine her life. And because of that, Karen, I can't wait to hear all this story. She founded what's called favelifestyle.com. It's a lifestyle brand, which I'm in your group and I love your group, in a community for women to amplify their expertise to the community seeking the resources to create their Fave life. And Fave is a place for women in business to shine. And also, you've grown it into something else, which I'm going to let you tell that story. And so even entrepreneurs, but also those that are not in entrepreneurship can come to your group and find lots of inspiration and knowledge from a lot of experts. So
Absolutely.
Karen, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here. So can you kind of tell us about that whole time when 5 major life changes happened to you?
Yes, yes. Why don't we just do it all the changes that you can imagine all at once? And besides all those things that you listed, we had a murder behind our house. My dog died. I had identity theft, and the just list went on and on. So it was a big time of how to, what are the choices you're going to make? How are you going to live? How are you going to walk through all of that? And I remember having on my desk at home some little affirmations. I called it my truth card, and on the top it said, "I am whole and healthy." And that's what I woke up every morning and I would grab that card and go, "I am whole and healthy. I am beautiful. I am all these things," and just would repeat those because I realized that like joy is a choice. The way you walk through things, and I just realized I had to focus on myself and not my circumstances. I had to deal with the circumstances, but just making some choices, some life choices, educating myself, and just surrounding myself with wonderful, wonderful people. But like you said, I felt invisible, actually.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. And I want to say something that was really profound that you just said was you realized your circumstances, however, were not you.
Yeah.
You were not your circumstances. And that's one aspect that I believe a lot of people can confuse themselves with, because sometimes I've gone through that too, where the circumstances are just crazy or, give me doubt in who I am. And then I tagged those circumstances onto myself as that's who I was. So that's really profound what you said. So if anybody hears this, you are not your circumstances, Yep.
Yeah. Well, even like working with somebody like you too, if it's around weight or health or whatever, it's sometimes hard to distinguish the circumstance of how you look or you're aging or whatever to the way you want to present yourself how you be, if you will. So yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just, I had a big pivot point as I was going through those, all that change and everything. And I had to really, like I said, focus on myself. But I was talking with a counselor that I had been going to, and this gentleman, one day I walked in and he had this big white piece of paper on his lap. And he said he had written a word on it. And he goes, Karen, he goes, there's your piece of paper and your black Sharpie. I want you to write how you feel in your life. And I was actually embarrassed about the word that I was thinking, because I've always tried to be really positive in my life and see the good, see, all that. But I wrote the word invisible. And he lifted up his paper and he had the same word. He goes, Karen, you were invisible in your life and in your marriage. And he goes, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to show up? It didn't have anything to do with anybody else. It had to do with how was I going to show up. I was treating myself as invisible. And so it didn't have anything to do with the rest of the circumstances. It was me. And so from that point, I changed how I was going to walk in life. And, I have to keep reminding myself, because we can get in these funks and these different things as we go through other challenges,
Yes, absolutely. And it's all connected. And it's like, in my book, and when I coach people, it's called our life radar, or a circle of life. And that's, our home environment, our physical activity, health, joy, spirituality, relationships, finances, creativity, social life, our career, our education, all of these things, our food is integrated. So if you were bringing, as you were feeling invisible, and maybe you were playing as an invisible person, all of these areas are affected by that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in an incredible way. So you stepped out, obviously, because of, I've never seen you as invisible. I've always seen you out there. And so how did that feel, stepping from being invisible to visible to you?
Yes. So, I knew I had to do something physically to become visible. And so I actually, before my kids left, before all those 5 things kind of came, together, and I knew I was going to become an empty nester, because my kids were getting older. So I had started filming a web show and celebrating women and doing interviews and inviting women to come and join and watch the filming. And so we started having a following of these lovely ladies, and we'd have events every couple months. And so I was building this community along the way. And so as I went through all those changes and those transitions, I had a little bit of a platform already built. And so then I just took it. I said, okay, now what am I going to do? Now, how am I going to monetize this? So then we built favelifestyles.com, which is an online magazine. And it's just lovely. We have lots of ladies who contribute. We've reached 750,000 views over an 18-month period during COVID. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Congratulations. That's phenomenal.
Thank you. Yes. And it's all about celebrating women and providing resources, because one of the things, as I was going through those transitions, one of the things I found that was so important was to educate myself. And to educate in every aspect of my life. And so I had a lot of areas that needed a lot of growing and a lot of shedding of some ugly stuff. But, so I would bring women together that could help us walk in life, how, create that beautiful life, if you will. And how can we learn? How can we grow? How can we empower and uplift each other and create an inspired life is what I call it.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing, if we can, I'll think about it, is that one thing for me too, when I think of you thinking you were invisible, sometimes I would go through this thought that I was alone, or I was, very alone. And I know, with what you're saying too, is that that's what I was projecting. There was something in me, and then that was wanting to feel that felt comfortable keeping me there, and so what I think about some of that similarity with me is I believe, is that we were living invisible for some reason, but how important it was, and it's something for everybody to think about, how important it was for us to stop doing that to ourselves and allowing, like you did, allow yourself to become who you really are. In my mind, that was always there. But, figuring out how to push through that, like you said, build that team around you so that you can step into your true purpose.
Right.
It just, yeah.
Yeah, thanks. And along the way, I realized that I had to surround myself with people like you and just these other wonderful women and Fave lifestyles. And one of the things that I hear from people who are just coming into our community, they say, those women are so wise. And I'm like, yes, I just want to tap into all of their wisdom. And because it's like filling your toolbox with tools. You're gleaning these different things from the different people that are in your community. And so I feel very honored to have our experts and our members in our biz society that we've expanded to come beside me. And I just am so inspired by all of them and everything here you wrote a book. It was lovely. Just see these things that you can create is just amazing. And I love being a part of it and being able to celebrate women that way.
Absolutely. So you have created a phenomenal world for women in this environment. Now let's talk about health and how one of the aspects you and I really wanted to talk about was how did you maintain your health throughout this whole, if we go back from into the beginning again, and just some steps that you took and things that you still want to try and accomplish, but tell us that story as well.
Yeah, so I have always one thing that I learned and that one of my coaches identified. She goes, "Karen, you're really consistent," and so I'm really consistent, whether it be good or bad. So I have always swam or done biking. I used to run, but I've always been consistent. I always work out 4 or 5 times a week if I can, But during that time of all those changes and challenges, there was a period of time for several months because I was also in a car accident at that time.
Oh my gosh.
On Friday the 13th, actually.
Karen.
Yeah. And so that, and I had just come out of having, I used to ski, and I had, the year before, I had torn my ACL. And so I had ACL, so I was actually in really good shape before the accident because I had worked really hard to get back into shape and get that strength back. And then the accident, on top of everything else, threw me for a loop. And one of the questions which I was thinking of when I was thinking of you is, how do you maintain when you're in that fight or flight? It feels like your body's just trying to hang on to everything, to the weight, to everything. And so it was, that all that stress. And I knew that I had to work out. So I did start swimming again. But so I come through all of this. And then actually, I am now down in Arizona. I'm on an adventure, but it threw me for some loops again. And really into that fight or flight. Here I thought I was coming down to Arizona, and it's so hot I would just shed the weight, because also during COVID I was by myself, let's throw COVID in on top of everything else. So it's just interesting, and I have continued to work out, but it's sometimes I feel like sometimes the weight, and as we're aging too, it kind of sticks there. So
I know what you're saying.
Well, but I just keep trying to gain new knowledge on how can I walk forward as going into my 60s. I'm 60 years old, and how to kind of, as your body is changing, how to adapt to that.
Right. And you said something else that I was hoping everyone would catch on to was things happen in life. So you were consistent, you did really well. And then all these things happen, you got in the accident, and then that changed the dynamics of the scenario and the situation that you were consistent in.
Yeah.
And so then, this happens to everybody. It can be whatever. Mine was a snowmobiling accident that got my knee in 2005. And then I had 4 or 5 years ago, an MCL injury, wake surfing. But all these things can happen that will change our consistency.
Yeah.
And so what you said, that's something people can really glean from is be willing to keep learning, because we get thrown into new scenarios all the time. And one thing I advise everybody on is, and it's something I didn't want to have to do because my brain wants to do it its way. It worked before. And if I can't do it the way I want, I don't want to do it at all. I mean, this is this discussion that I have, in my head sometimes. And so one of the biggest things we could do is just say, okay, it's a new scenario. I'll learn how to drive this body in the new scenario now, and we can take what we've learned from before, but if we're willing to modify it. And so when things throw me for a loop now, my brain is a lot more pliable. It's willing to learn, not because I'll say to it too sometimes, all right, last time we didn't want to learn. And look what happened. We wanted to keep doing the same thing, but the scenario is different. So we have to modify. So everybody, being willing to keep learning, being willing to seek out how to drive this incredible being we are for all these different stages, I guess I want to say. So
yes.
Yeah.
So I am trying to, actually, I'm working on that right now. So I love to swim. I love to be in the pool, which is great down here in Arizona.
Yeah.
And so I used to swim laps, and then my left arm decided it didn't want to work. So I said, okay, what can I do? I can do water aerobics. So I do water aerobics. And now I have created this new kickboard routine. We have a little ball and do the exercises in the water, and I do this now on my own. So, and I just try to make things fun.
Absolutely.
It's like, okay, what can I do? I can run in the pool. I can, maybe once I get back up in Washington, I'm looking forward to biking again. But yes, I just keep trying to, it's like when I was living in an apartment in Woodinville, they had stairs. I couldn't really run, but I could run upstairs for some reason. And so I would just challenge myself. Okay, today I did 4 sets of stairs for 4 flights. Maybe tomorrow I can do 5.
And that's a great one to look at, because sometimes we get so set that we have to go, we'll stay on exercise here for a minute. We have to go to a gym, or we have to do a whole 1-hour workout. But if we can, snag an extra flight of stairs, if we can snag, they say, it's very popular to say, don't park close to the store, park a little further away. All of that will really add up, and our brains can negate that extra movement, and sometimes it's not important, but it really is impactful. Yeah. So finding ways of being really creative, to keep the body moving. The other thing too, when you're talking about the stress and the fight and flight, I was talking on an episode a couple of weeks ago about movement, body movement, so important for stress management, stress reduction, because we are in fight and flight mode. Our DNA programs us that we're supposed to be running from this bear, or something's going to come get us, except in our world, we're not running from the bear, and we're just sitting. And so it really can help to, if you're really stressed, get up, march around, breathe deep, and, let that stress out. That can help too. So I found that helps me a lot.
Yeah, so the other day I jumped up out of my chair. So I didn't know I could still skip, but I can.
Yay.
I skipped around my little place here. I'm like, oh, I can skip and get rid of some of that energy, because I do.
Absolutely. Yeah, make it fun. I mean, as a kid, we did.
I know.
We go skip around. We do things like that. So somehow as adults, we put that rule on us that we can't do that. One other thing that I was thinking of was in terms of fitness, is there's a statement, maybe we don't look at as exercise as a punishment, but a celebration of what our body can do. And so that was something very profound for me, because I used to always exercise out of punishment for my body, because it wasn't what I wanted it to be. And if only it was, my whole life would be so much better.
Oh, yeah. And I think I might need to be applying that to my food intake too. That
Yeah.
is a celebration.
Yes, absolutely. We can look at our food, um, you know, and again, I think that's just how we've been marketed to so long is being on diet is about deprivation. It's about, you know, punishment for, falling off our path or whatever. And I was really good at flogging myself and punishing myself. I would lose the weight and then I didn't know how to live at that weight. So I would lose it again. I mean, I would gain it back. And it was just this horrible, onslaught of emotion that I carried because I couldn't figure it out. But I love what you just said. Yes, our food can be a celebration of, helping our body do and what it's meant to do. And the other thing is we're all on diets of some kind. So
Oh,
we're all on a diet. Diet just means what are you eating? Some people are eating different ways and a lot are eating a way that doesn't support them and that's their diet. So we can look at it as that diet word is so, in my opinion, misconstrued, but we're all on diets and it just means consistent eating. I don't remember the exact definition, but if we can look at it now, well, how can I celebrate myself with nourishment of food and high quality food so my
yes.
body can perform at its best and I can think, my brain can perform too,
Right. And I think you talked about it on one of your other podcasts too, about eating local. And so I'm like,
Yes.
oh my gosh,
Yes.
if I could just really kind of focus on some of that too,
Mhm.
to eat those fresh foods, because I am realizing that it's as I get older too, it's harder to process even the foods that aren't, processed foods because some, just the meats or the whatever that have all the other stuff in it.
Yeah.
To keep it fresh.
And what's interesting too, and this is another thing I thought of is a while back too, is, we all say, oh, well, you're so young, you can eat anything you want. But what we're not really seeing is what's really happening inside that person's body. It doesn't matter if they're 20 years old or 23. Yeah, thank goodness their cells regenerate faster, but really it's still impacting them in a negative way. And so that's one statement I always want to work on is, just because someone's younger than someone else doesn't mean, oh, they can go ahead and do that. Their body's still getting the impact of that, and I love the aspect too of, and you can talk about this as well, but going through what you went through when say you're eating for, high quality foods and you're trying to start a company and you're, launching as an entrepreneur, when you do that with a mind that is clearer because it's getting fed, nutrients that can help it versus when maybe you weren't, what experience did you notice when you were changing things up?
Yeah, there's been several times because, you kind of go through hills and valleys.
Oh, I
And,
do too, everybody.
Here there was times where I was just really on track. My head was clear, and then I would actually get lonely. There was a lot of loneliness, especially going through the pandemic too.
Yeah.
And I keep saying I should have had a quarantine partner, but I was by myself and, but just going through those things, and I just lost my train of thought.
We were talking. Well,
so clarity. So I must actually need more water. So what happens here? You have to be really, really careful. And I'm not kidding. I have to drink like water like every minute.
Yeah, it's too hot
when I'm here because that clarity. And so when I came down to Arizona, that is one thing that I really had to be careful of because my head was so fuzzy. I couldn't think. And so I started eating really just vegetables, a little bit of protein, drinking tons of water. So I have been eating so much healthier since I've been down here because I can't eat those comfort foods or anything because it's too hot. And I realized it was affecting the way I was thinking.
Yes. So again, for everybody. So if you're wanting, you're a business person, you're even in your own career, how we eat and how it affects us affects the way our mind can think. It affects our clarity. I guess a really dramatic point is if someone has too much to drink one night and then the next day they try and go perform really well at work, their mind is foggy, their body is trying to detox, but that happens with food too. So clarity to make it affects our moods too. So it's really interesting.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a week when I had been here a few weeks. I actually had to stop myself and say, okay, what have I been eating? What have I been drinking? What do I need to change? And I had to make some major changes.
What I love is what you connected something with what was happening. And you're like, okay, this is great. Anybody watching or listening, if things aren't going well, I love that you said, what do I need to change? What have I been doing? I'm trying to remember exactly what you said.
Yeah.
But really, start asking, trying to make connections to what could be causing it. And great area to look is water, hydration, food intake. You're a great example of, are you in a whole different environment of temperature? And then once you know what it is, do make the change, so yeah.
I made quite a few changes. There's a few that I could still make, actually quite a few, but I'm a work in progress.
Hey, we're all works in progress, I promise. Just because I'm a health coach and a trainer, there's still stuff I'm working on. So,
yes.
And everyone goes, like I said, through these valleys, but what we can, when we get to the top and then we have to go back around, life is up and down, new journeys, and we're going on curved roads, straight roads. And again, I believe that we've been marketed to that we should be achieving and we should be able to just arrive. But life is always an arrival. It's always a journey. It's always changing, and something's going to happen. It's going to, make us have to stop and really look at things. So, I get it 100%. And, if you and I, I'm going to ask you to say, yeah, Tracy, I agree. But if we can tell anybody this, that I just lost my train of thought. But it's
you have a reason. You've been up since 4:30. You said
you're so nice. Anyway, so it's just that we can arrive at a goal. That was what it was. Why I yo-yo dieted so much is I would arrive at the goal, but I hadn't learned what I needed to learn on that journey that got me there, or I got there in a way that was not sustainable. And so in any journey, could it be again health or career or whatever, if we get stuck on that, once I achieve that weight or once I achieve that position, I'm done. It's hard for the brain to realize, wow, there's still more to learn. There's still something going to happen. And so being fluid in that, and
right.
like you said in the beginning, being willing to learn, lifelong learning.
Lifelong learning. And the other thing that I have also, it just happens that I expanded the Fave Lifestyles community to the Fave Society, but it's around accountability. Mm-hmm. And so some of these ladies, so it's very simple. It's just like, what is your goal for the month? What is the weekly goal to support that? But it's, the coaches and things like that help us be accountable. And so the ladies, are coming to me to be accountable to their goal to be an entrepreneur. What are their revenue goals? What are their their launches or their social media goals? But it's people, they come to you to be accountable to help them in that health area.
Right.
It is so much easier when you have, a professional BFF, if you will, to help you walk that, because you don't feel alone. You have somebody to tell you that it's okay and that you don't have to do it perfect.
Right.
And like you were saying, it's a journey. You have somebody to walk that journey with. And I think that I am finding that more and more important as I go walk this walk of being an entrepreneur. And it's so fun to have different women come alongside you and be a part of your journey too. So
yeah, absolutely. And okay, so Karen, oh my goodness, we've already been 30 minutes. I can't believe it. goes so fast.
It does.
So again, everybody, you know, Karen has created this phenomenal company out from scratch. You know, she did it while being challenged with some of the most dire challenges that anyone would face. And my hope is that that can be so inspiring that, you know, if we allow ourselves to not be invisible,
Yeah.
step into our purpose, you know, we can create a phenomenal life. And so, with that, Karen, what do you want to leave everyone with before we hang up? And
Yes.
yeah.
So I think my parting words, and I say this a lot, is how are you showing up in your life? And because you are the wow factor, where you're the wow factor in your business, in your life. And my mission in life now is to celebrate women, to celebrate their gifts, their talents, and to create a place for them to shine. And that's what we're doing at Fave and our new business society. So I hope the ladies come and join us.
I love it. Yes, check it out. It's on Facebook, and I think the links are in the Facebook post. Karen, thank you so much for taking the time to join me tonight.
Thank you,
And
Tracy.
yeah, and I can't wait to see you in
Yeah.
the fall. All right, Karen, stay on. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening, and all our best. Talk to you soon.
Yes. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.